One soft summer evening, only a few years from now, a family taking a stroll after dinner can stop and look up. If they're lucky, they'll be able to see a new star on the horizon, drifting across the summer sky. A star created not by cosmic dust and gravity, but by men and women with their own skilled hands. Soon, the first stage of the International Space Station will be launched in Russia, followed shortly by a launch from the United States. Being at home in space will be a gateway to discoveries that are unprecedented in human history. Right now, as you're listening, there are several thousands of NASA and Boeing employees, subcontractors, suppliers, and aerospace workers from 16 countries, all dedicating their working lives and leading the way to the first truly international space station. So, let us ask the question, why? For the first time, scientists and researchers will have an opportunity to improve our daily lives with a laboratory literally unlike anything else on Earth. We will be able to advance human knowledge beyond our home planet. Of course, the idea of space exploration has fired mankind's imaginations ever since we first looked up at the heavens.
When I was growing up, my next-door neighbor, my buddy, and I, we built ourselves a rocket ship to take us into space. And we spent a lot of time in space in our fantasy games. And now I'm seeing some of those dreams really come true with the space station.
In 5th grade, we studied the explorers. We've talked about how they were venturing forth into a frontier that they didn't know anything about. And my kids see that space is the same way. They know a little bit about it, but there's still so much to learn. It's the next frontier.
Yeah, I like to think about what it's like living in space and like what it's like to actually be in microgravity and float and not falling down and scraping my knee.
Anyone in grade school today can be doing what I'm doing 18 years from now, or even something more amazing, programming on the space station to go the next step.
The International Space Station program is well on its way, and the challenges will be great. In order to assemble this orbiting laboratory, astronauts will undertake nearly twice the hours of extravehicular activity than Gemini, Apollo, Skylab, and shuttle missions combined.
The building of the assembly of the International Space Station is an activity that you have to do it right the first time.
One of the unique things about the space station is it's never fully put together here on the ground. The first time it all gets put together is on orbit.
If there is a problem with it, the problem has to be small enough that it is not going to hurt anybody, that it is not going to endanger the mission. So again, that requires a tremendous attention to detail.
For the first time in your life, you get this universal perspective of the world. And you look down and you truly don't see any boundaries between any of the nations.
Hopefully the knowledge that we gain will help all of us to live more peacefully. And it is knowledge that can only help us live within a peaceful world.
The Greeks had philosophy, and the Renaissance Italians were famous for their artistry. In our generation, it is the ability to explore that sets us apart. And we can count on many wondrous discoveries from our explorations on the International Space Station.
I think it's really important to start your studies with the individual cells because the whole body is much too complex to really understand just by itself. So you start with the small and then you understand how those parts work with each other, and then you can understand how they fit into the larger picture.
In low gravity, you can grow tissues that stay in 3 dimensions. And we've grown tissues of colon cancer, breast cancer, and also ligaments of humans, and we're using those in research. We're going to do this in full force on board the space station as we improve the techniques, and we believe this really will contribute to better healthcare.
Even right now on Earth, we're making tremendous strides in understanding the aging process of cells and a whole body. I think if you add to that the information you can get on the space station in the absence of gravity, that will be tremendous improvement in the rapid progress of science of gerontology.
Being able to literally look down on ourselves has become almost commonplace today. The International Space Station will magnify this remarkable perspective.
And it'll be the human beings on the space station who can communicate to everyone the beauty of the Earth below and also the changes that are occurring as a result of natural and human actions.
Examination of global biological changes, in-depth studies of our oceans and waterways, and more will be made possible through the space station's point of view.
When it is burning season in southern Africa or South America, when the people go out there to make fertilizer for their farms, they burn the plants, the smoke gets up into the air. It covers the whole southern hemisphere at that time, and you can see it, and you begin to get a sense that human activities, ones that we're used to, can affect the whole Earth.
This orbital laboratory will also afford research and experiments to be performed in order to support commerce. The computer industry will also benefit from the effects of long-term microgravity research.
Well, on Earth, there's some major effects from gravity that make it difficult to study the little nuances of what's going on in biology or in physics or in chemistry.
When you try to make things like chips and protein crystals and very pure materials, they tend to boil during that process. And if there's no gravity or much less gravity, they wouldn't boil. And so you can build larger chips and larger protein crystals and subject them. Then you can study them and see what things that you couldn't build on the surface of the Earth, see what they might do for us.
The International Space Station will give us this opportunity to have a permanent human presence in a permanent laboratory in the microgravity environment and give us the potential to really go out there and do some research and discover not only things we think we're going to discover, but the great unknown unknowns that so oftentimes benefit us more than what we set out to find in our laboratories here on Earth.
Who knows what's out there beyond the space station? This is our chance to find out. In 1969, shortly after he took that famous first step on our moon, Neil Armstrong said that man must understand his universe in order to understand his destiny.
Can we live and prosper in space? Will human beings eventually spread to the solar system? People thought about it for centuries. Now we may be able to do it, we may not, but the space station is the next big step on the way.
What are we going to find? Nobody can tell. And that's the magic of exploration. You don't know what's there. If you did, then it would be sort of boring. So we don't know what's there, and that's the attraction. And that's why I think there's always going to be a piece of every one of us that says, wow, let's go.